Ayukui. So it's been a little bit. I am not looking the best. I am in a hospital. If someone knocks on the door or comes in, I am immediately turning you off. Um, you are my phone, which I really didn't want to film on again, but it's not like I had any choice in the matter. um, you might have seen, if you're subscribed to me, if you're not, um, that I wasn't able to post a video today, Sunday, May 28th. Because Sundays and Wednesdays tend to be my posting days, and I couldn't today because of reasons. Um, yeah, what I am calling the spur of the moment surgery Saturday. Figured I'd continue on or make a new vlog. I can't figure out if I want to add this to the 23 of 2023 vlog or just make it its own vlog on its own. We shall see. So yeah, I had surgery on Friday night. I was in terrible pain. It was a pain that at the time I could only describe it as like a bad period cramp, but it was right underneath my ribs, like right underneath my sternum in the middle. And it lasted from 11:30 at night till 7:30 the next morning. I had a feeling it was a gallbladder problem because I've had that pain before, and someone kind of but at the time it had only lasted like 30 minutes. Someone had said it might be our gallbladder. Didn't think anything of it at the time. That was years ago. And so this time when I felt the same pain, I looked up gallbladder pain symptoms, and it very much felt like those symptoms. So I get that if you look anything up on the internet of anything medical, it could be anything. It could have been cancer. It could have been so many different things. But that's, to me, what I felt for sure what it was. And everything kept saying that if the pain didn't go away within 2 hours to go to the ER. Yeah, I obviously didn't. I don't suggest that that you don't go to the ER if you feel gallbladder pain symptoms in 2 hours. We did end up going to the ER at 7:30, arrived shortly thereafter, and basically at first they thought it was acid reflux, because it didn't make sense to them that if I laid down in any direction that it would get worse. That doesn't typically say gallbladder pain. They ran a couple tests just to be sure, and yes, it turns out that I have gallbladder stones. If you don't know, the gallbladder is a storage facility in your body that helps with your liver. Your liver produces bile, and that's what helps the stomach break down fatty foods, grease of any kind. When it does produce it and it's not using it right away, it will put it in the gallbladder. The gallbladder is just supposed to be a storage facility for this bile. But the gallbladder occasionally, and they have noticed it with women in particular, but also men get it too. It's just more common in plus size women that the gallbladder decides it wants to make stuff too, and that tends to be stones. The stones tend to stay in the little sac that is the gallbladder. I am not a medical professional, by the way. This is what I'm hearing from the medical professionals here. So apparently, I had eaten some greasy food Friday night. We had fried catfish and calamari, which is not unnormal for me. But I guess when the gallbladder is like, hey, you had some greasy food, let me get you some bile, it also, one of the stones got stuck, is what they're assuming. And so because of that, that created pain. However, they are confused because typically that happens within an hour or so after you eat. This didn't happen until like 4.5 hours after I ate, this pain. So they're not sure what happened there, but they're pretty sure that because I stopped feeling the pain around 7:30 that the stone moved. Because when they did their tests, it turns out that my gallbladder lining was a little thicker, which can often mean an infection. It wasn't that much. It It wasn't too thick that they were worried about it, but it was signs that like something wasn't right. Um, a couple of my liver chemicals, whatever those are, were high, also indicating that something's possibly wrong. So they suggested surgery because it's not that I passed the gallbladder or gallstone. Is probably a good thing I didn't, because if I did, it would go into the pancreas, and then it would cause pancreatitis, which is not pleasant, from what I hear. I haven't had it, thank God. Knock on wood. Well, at this point, like, I don't think I can. So what the surgeon explained to me was that they know I have gallstones. Stones. It's nothing new. It's not like they just popped up out of nowhere yesterday. I've had them. Um, and their suggestion was to remove the gallbladder because it is just a storage facility. It's not supposed to make anything. It shouldn't change my diet that much. I just can't eat as much greasy food or rich food. Um, so, and for the most part, a lot of people who get their gallbladder removed live pretty normal lives. There's occasions where some folks eat and get diarrhea automatically, like right after they eat, which there are medications to help bind the bile so that that doesn't happen. And of course, there's general risks for any surgery. My arm is getting tired. They said that that's what they suggest. I could always say no, in terms of, because I was already in the ER, they could easily admit me into the hospital and do the surgery the same day, which was a lot to take in. I didn't wake up, or I didn't sleep Saturday night or Saturday morning, so but I didn't like go outside thinking and go to the ER thinking I was going to get surgery. The other option was to go as an outpatient, so the surgeon would then recommend me to one of an outpatient doctor, surgeon. I could then schedule the surgery later on because ultimately it's a week recovery time. The other option was to not get my gallbladder removed at all. But the problem with that is that I could have gone through what happened Friday night all over again at any point. I am so lucky that this happened at home, where I was probably the most comfortable and most convenient. Yes, it was my fault that I didn't like go to the hospital after 2 hours of pain. We have a camping trip coming up, and it would really suck to get a gallstone stuck in a place where there is hardly any self-service, or that we're like more than 2 hours away from a hospital. So she also said that it could possibly be that I don't have a problem with the stones, though she warned if I ever do plan on having kids, which at some point I would like to, pregnancy, women going through pregnancy and if they have gallstones tend not always have an issue with gallstones. So she warned about that. So she highly recommended that we just get it removed. I say we because Brad was with me the whole time. So Brad and I talked it over. Of course, we were both hesitant. It's surgery. I was freaking out because it's surgery. I get that. Considering all things, this is probably a minor surgery, but it's still surgery nonetheless. Aside from having my wisdom teeth removed, I haven't had surgery before. So, let alone been in a hospital as a patient. So it was really nerve-wracking for me. And of course, like, my immediate thing was I wanted to talk to my mom. It sounded like I was leaning towards getting surgery that day and that they were here for me, that it sounded like that was probably the best option, that there's always this fear with surgery in general, and she understood why I was freaking out. My thing with fear is that I will start crying. And of course, we were in a hallway in the ER with these nurses going back and forth who didn't think that this was a big deal, that this is a pretty common surgery. So I felt weak of sorts, crying about this thing that was scaring the hell out of me. So to have my friend validate my feelings, which, thank you, was really pleasant. Not that Brad wasn't, he just had the same concerns I did. and he was holding my hand the whole time. Obviously, I went with the surgery, so they got me admitted pretty quickly, and they got me prepped pretty right away. So like, it only took a couple more hours, and then I was in pre-surgery of like getting ready for surgery. I was talking to an anesthesiologist who was really sweet and really nice, helps explain anything, asked me in general if I had anxiety about surgeries, and I told him yes, and he asked why, if he can help answer any questions. I'm like, it's general jitters of surgery. Like, everyone explained everything really great. I understood what I was going in for. I've just never been in surgery. And he's like, that's fair. The surgery went well. I did heavily freak out when we got into the operation room, because suddenly there were nurses everywhere. There were people that they were introducing me to everyone, and everyone was really sweet and going, oh, hi, I hope you're having a nice day, all things considering. Uh, but I was in general freaking out because there were these huge lights. I had to get on a table that had a little purple thing that held my head and neck, and they put an oxygen mask on me, which was freaking me out because I couldn't breathe right, but I also think I was just having a panic attack, and I started crying. All these things. It was just so much. I did not think this weekend was going to go this way. It was supposed to be an early celebration birthday weekend because I actually have to work on my birthday, and it's the first weekend I have to work Sundays at work, so I would only have one day off with my partner, and that one day off is actually supposed to be at a wedding, because for some reason everyone in my family is deciding to have their weddings in the early part of June. So it was supposed to be like a lovely, and I think that's what mostly gets me, is that it was, my boyfriend had all those plans to celebrate my birthday yesterday, and we weren't able to. So I am supposed to go home today. Yeah, supposed to go home today, like in a couple hours, I think. I did have some other breakfast, some egg and potato, orange juice and a banana. It was actually pretty decent comparatively. I have not had hospital food before, but I've never heard good things. But it was okay. Have to say, I could have used a little more creamer for my coffee, but at the same time, I don't necessarily want too much coffee right now, just because I'm afraid to use the bathroom. But yeah, I am supposed to go home today. Supposed to have a week off from work, which I only had a 3-day work week this next week anyway, so I have to email bosses and let them know, let my coworkers know. But I figure it'd be a good week to kind of catch up on reading, because I feel like I haven't read all that much in May, let alone books from my TBR. So we'll try to catch up. I have not read anything while I've been in here, mostly because I've been exhausted. I did not sleep at all Friday night and spent all of Saturday in a waiting room or shuffling from one doctor's room to another. I'll update you later. I'm tired still, so I just wanted to update you on that, but I am doing fine. I'm a little sore. With these beds, I'm like stuck in it. Okay, I'll chat later. Excuse the angle and the lighting, but I am back home. I've been home for a couple days now. I got out of the hospital on Sunday, the day that I filmed my last shot, and then now it's Tuesday. So thank you for everybody that reached out who were concerned. Don't mind my cat in the background. She just wants all the attention right now. But like not, she's like claiming it, she wants attention, but anytime I give her attention, then it's like, no, go away. But yeah, I figured this was going to be another 23 of 2023 vlog. So as you saw, I read Bad Cree, which was part of it. That has its own review up at this point, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but that was, I believe, my 5th. Let's see, I have a graphic, so let's see how many I've gotten so far. So I think this has been pretty good so far. I am falling a little bit behind again. So because I'm out of work this week in order to recover, I figure this might be a good time to get some more reading done for the 23 of 2023. thing, the challenge that I'm doing. And it's that weird in between time. Not that I was following my MATBR in any way, to be honest. That's a whole nother discussion. But I do have Burn by Patrick Ness with me. This is a library book that I got from Interlibrary Loan, as well as, I'm not going to show you the front cover because it has my information on it, but also Amazon's Abolitionists and Activists by Mickey Kendall. This is a graphic novel. And I'm also listening to The Heart Principle by Helen Wong. So I did start listening to this before I went into the hospital last week. And I have the physical book. It's in my library, in my office. But I also have the audiobook that I'm borrowing through Libby, through my local library. So I've been listening to that. I'm only about an hour into it so far. And so far, it's okay. I did start it and stop it because I was listening to another romance book, and it was just too much romance all at the same time. Yeah. But yeah, so far I'm liking it. It doesn't, so I think Anna is supposed to be autistic, but I don't know if she knows it. Quan, of course, like, Quan's picking up quirks from her. I'm gonna let my cat outside because she's being a butt. I don't think he quite understands it yet, but because, I mean, Kai has Asperger's. I think it's Asperger's. I think he just kind of understands that Anna has quirks and that he's just kind of going along with it. So we are to the point where they have met. They have tried to go on a couple dates and it's not going quite right. So yeah. Like I said, I'm liking it so far. So that's the one audiobook I'm listening to right now. So I think I'm going to continue listening to that. And see if I can't get into one of these other ones physically. Because I think they're both, I know that Amazon's Abolitionists and Activists is due June 5th. So I have to get that back when I get back to work. So yeah. I will let you know. I'll update you when I know. I haven't been the biggest reader at the moment just because I get tired easily. So currently I've just been working on another knitting project. This is a baby blanket for a cousin that I've been working on. So I might just listen to a bit more of The Heart Principle and knit some more, though I'm also getting tired, so I might also take a nap. I don't know. So I'll update you when I have updates. Okay, well, you were precariously set on a windowsill. I am trying to sit down. I am at a different location because I just kind of wanted a different location. I wanted some light, and all of our fish tanks need water right now, so they're all making a loud like waterfall noise that I feel like is really distracting. I've been kind of bugged by it the last couple nights trying to sleep, but I wanted to let you know it's a couple days later. It's now Thursday, June 1st, the start of LGBTQ month, the start of my birthday month. I say that, but like my birthday's June 5th, and I guess outside of just having dinner or something with my dad next weekend, I really don't have anything else planned. I need to adjust because that is hurting my incision. But I just wanted to let you know that I have finished 2 books for the 23 of 2023. I will go ahead and go over them with you. Completed The Heart Principle. I don't know what's on this. The Heart Principle by Helen Huang. This is the 3rd book in the Love Equation series. So this is the 3rd one. It's a trilogy, and I would say like so long as you read the first one, and not that it's like they're more like companions. Like aside from knowing that, so the first one, The Love Equation, follows Michael and Stella, and like outside of just knowing that yes they end up getting together, like you can read this one as well as the second one, The Bride Test, out of order, and nothing will really get spoiled for you. There's kind of a timeline thing within The Bride Test that might throw you off, but other than that, like you can read them out of order. The Heart Principle, we're following Anna, who is a skilled violinist. She ends up going viral for playing the violin at one point, but she feels this like pressure to be up to a good standard and ends up getting caught in a loop. And at the same time, her boyfriend decides that before he wants to marry her, he wants to make sure he has no regrets. So he wants an open relationship. And so out of revenge, Anna wants to have a one-night stand. She wants to have sex too. So she ends up trying to hook up with Quan. If you've read the first 2 first, then you'll know that Quan is one of the main central group characters. It's Michael's best friend and cousin, and it's Kai's older brother. And Quan is going through his own stuff right now, and now he feels like he needs to prove himself that he is still the man that he was before. And so to prove that, he decides to have a one-night stand to prove he still got it. And that way, if she does end up noticing that something's different, then he never has to see her again. But their first date ends up going awry, and they end up having to do a second date. And the second date doesn't go quite as well either, so they end up doing a third, etc. Anna also figures out that she is on the autism spectrum, and this explains a lot for her. It's one thing I have enjoyed with Helen Huang's writing. Helen Huang herself is on the autism spectrum. I believe she is also AAPI, but I don't think it's ever been confirmed. Michael, Kai, and Quan, the love interests in all the books, are all related, and they're all Vietnamese American living in San Francisco. And so far, I believe that all the women that are protagonists, our heroines in these books, are also of Asian descent, but it doesn't say what necessarily. I know that I think only Esme, I believe, is Vietnamese. I can't remember if she's Vietnamese or Korean. I don't recall. But I don't know if it ever says with Stella and Anna. I know it doesn't say. They say they are of some Asian. She is of some of the Asian descent, because at one point her mom ends up like questioning Quan in terms of like, oh, like how do you spell that, and like trying to figure out what type of Asian he is, and she isn't impressed with the fact that he's Vietnamese.
So I think there's a lot of interest. So that bit is interesting. How Helen Wong writes about autism is very interesting, because each one of these books are from a different perspective of people with autism. Stella has known that she's was autistic, and knows like knows her not pros and cons, but her strengths and weaknesses that go along with that, and kind of her they call it quirks. And the bride test, Kai is on the autism spectrum, and Esme kind of has to figure out what that means, because she doesn't. That's not a thing. It's not a diagnosed thing. It's not something that's recognized where she's from, and it's kind of a culture shock for her to be in San Francisco to figure this out and what that means in terms of Kai. And then in this one, Anna finds out that she is on the autistic spectrum, and what that means for her, and what does that mean when telling her family, which I think is a very important discussion in here. I will end up doing like a full series review for this as a separate thing, but I think that this one in particular had a lot. I mean, each one of them had really interesting discussions. I feel like the bride test and the heart principle more so than the love equation. The love equation I was not a fan of, in all honesty. That's probably my least favorite of this. But the heart principle is not my favorite either. The bride test still remains my favorite, but the heart principle definitely had some heavy discussions in here, so I would definitely look out content warning. So in here there is a family member that ends up going into the hospital and has to be taken care of, and there is a family member, particularly a parent, dying. So I would definitely look that up before, and take care of yourself before going into this, because that was pretty intense, particularly after I just left the hospital. Yeah, and then there's that like emotional rigmarole of taking care of someone, and if that's really what they want. So yeah, and not to mention like talking with your family about being diagnosed with being on the autism spectrum, and what that means. And then there's just a bunch of mental health things in here for Anna that I really appreciated. It was just the whole romance part itself, which was a major part of this, felt like it was kind of on the back burner, and it felt like it went by very quickly, and there wasn't much at stake for it. I don't know. It didn't leave me with an emotional impact as much as the bride test did. So, but yeah, that's another one done. So is Amazon's Abolitionist and Activist, a graphic history of women's fight for their rights, by Mickey Kendall and A. D'Amico. This is as it says, a graphic novel, and it's, sorry, a plane is flying over the house. It's a graphic novel. It's actually, it feels like like Mickey Kendall is backing up her hood feminism. If you haven't read Hood Feminism, I highly suggest it, because it kind of says that like feminism is in everything. It's in food rights, disability rights, LGBTQ rights. It's in everything. And this feels like it backs it up. So this is, as it says, a history of women's fight for their rights. And there's not much else to say about it. I would say I'm hesitant to rate it, mostly because I'm in a weird state right now, because I've had surgery, because of the I'm like on a couple of painkillers, but they're really not that bad. But I'm also getting tired very easily. But I will say that this felt like a lot at times. It took me 2 days to read, mostly because it's a history, I mean, it is a full-on history. Basically, we are following a group of young women who were in a museum that asked the question. What is the question? There's a question in here. Women's rights, who won them? And they all start, these women that are looking at them, looking at that question, all start arguing. So an AI appears and was just like, y'all don't know. And so the AI ends up kind of transporting them into history and teaching this group of women about the history of women's rights from like the very earliest days of like what women had in the BC times and like what they lost over history and what they gained. And it goes through everything. It goes all around the world. And of course, it's just like the very surface of all of this history, right? But it's still a lot. That's one thing I would have to say. I think this would have been very beneficial as a series. Like each one of these is split up into its own, like it has content. So like chapter 1 is women's rights in antiquity, the seed is planted. And then chapter 2, empresses, queens, and princesses. Chapter 3 is slavery, colonialism, imperialism, etc. And I think each one of these chapters could have been its own like big graphic novel. Mostly because just as it is, it's like really quickly we're going through, and the transitions between chapters were fairly abrupt to me. So yeah, like I'm hesitant to rate it right now, but at the same time, what I'm feeling is a 4, because it is good. It very much like goes into everything, but it was also a lot. There were times where I was just kind of overwhelmed with how much was on the page. So there were definitely times where it's like, oh, we got kind of more visual aspect than text, which is nice. But there was definitely, that was kind of few and far between. We definitely had, I mean, I guess it was all right, but we definitely had a lot of it is putting faces to names, and like this one was a lot to me. So this is the civil rights movement, and it's like a lot of portraits of folks who were important and what they did, and it's this AI explaining each person, each portrait, which is nice. And I don't know if it's because of given my current state of recovering from surgery, but it just felt like I'd get to a page like that and be like, this is too much. I would just feel overwhelmed because there was so many faces, so many names and dates, and it was just a lot. So I think this is good. I just think it could have been better, in my opinion. And I don't necessarily know if a whole series would have necessarily been better. It might be like overwhelming, particularly if with how I went like this with the size. But I mean, I'm glad I read it. I think it's a very important read. I don't think I'd necessarily buy it for my own collection, but I would hope that there are schools out there like Pomona, who's the one that sent this to me, Cal Polytechnic Pomona sent this to me via interlibrary loan. So I would hope that other universities, high schools, etc. had that in their collection, because I think it's important for schools to have it, or have it be accessible to anyone who's wondering about it. That's the 2. I'm debating if I want to. So I have In the Company of Crows and Ravens on my June TBR, and I'm debating if I want to start that now. I'm kind of not feeling it at the moment. But this is like a 23 of 2023 vlog, so it doesn't make sense for me to continue on with other books if I'm not doing the 23 of 2023 books and still vlogging, if that makes sense. But I'm in a weird mood today too. I don't know, we'll just have to see. So that's my update for now. Hopefully, yeah, we'll see. If this ends, I'll give you a full update. Otherwise, I'll let you know. Otherwise, yeah, we'll see how my reading goes. So we're in this terrible lighting spot again. So I did start In the Company of Crows and Ravens. One thing right off the bat, as I was listening to it, it sounds a little older, just by the narrator, which is fine. It's who's narrating it? It's narrated by Danny Campbell, which is fine. He's doing fine. But one thing I immediately noticed is that they use the word Eskimo, which is a derogatory term. It should not be used anymore. Inuit or Inuits. Sorry, my dog sees another dog outside. Yeah. So immediately off the bat, I was like, is this an older book, or are they purposely being like disrespectful? This book is from 2005. Its copyright is 2005. So still don't know how I feel about it, but it's something that's definitely stood out. But yeah, so far it's interesting. I think I'm gonna go ahead and keep listening to it, mostly because it's like gonna take me like 5 hours to listen to. But basically it's just like how crows and ravens have affected human culture, which I think is interesting. So I like non-fictions about birds. So that was pretty cool. And I like observing birds, so I'm pretty sure those are crows. That's the one thing, this book has definitely made me question like what types of crows or ravens are around here. I would assume that what just passed by are crows, but now knowing that there's over 40 different species, I'm interested to know what are here locally. So yeah, that's my update. Sorry, can you hear that water? It's bugging the hell out of me. Ultimately, our fish tanks just need to be cleaned, which we're going to do tonight, though I don't know how much I can necessarily do because I don't necessarily want to lift anything right now. But I'm 20% of the way through. Oh, goodness. In the Company of Crows and Ravens. I'm getting kind of tired now though, so it's like I think 20%. That's pretty good. I still have like 4 hours left, but I am tired. I don't know. I switched from the audiobook to just kind of watching some vlogs. Olivia Reads a Latte. That's mostly been it right now. I'm also working on this, as you may have seen. It's going to be a cape. I have a couple of them that I've made before. This is probably not the best spot for it, but of course it's underneath my cat. So yeah, you get it? You get the thing? I think you get it. But this one, my camera keeps getting stuck. That one is being commissioned by a friend who asked me to do it. I don't typically do commissions on anything. Mostly because I like doing it for the fun of doing it. If it happens to be a gift for someone, it happens to be a gift for someone. When someone asks me to do something, I've noticed this with art in general, it's no longer fun. I don't want to do it no more. So yeah, I'm still also working on this. Focus. Okay. This blanket, I'm not done. I'm getting close though. I'm hoping I can get it done by the 9th because I have a follow-up appointment. I have a follow-up appointment in a couple towns over for my surgery, and my cousin lives close by, so I think I can drop it off to her if I'm done. So I'm hoping. It always takes me longer than I expect it's going to take me to knit something. So the cape, we'll see. I'm hoping, I don't think she watches my channel. So Shay, if you're watching, stop it. I'm joking. Kinda. So yeah. I think I'm hungry, but I don't know if I'm actually hungry or if I'm bored hungry. I asked Brad to get me some snacky items, because I need to embrace a higher fiber diet. Some snacky items should help with that. Snacky, high fiber items. I want to go outside. I want to go book shopping. I want to like do everything outside the house. I'm sure I could do, in all honesty, but I think it's a peace of mind knowing I am home and that I am not going anywhere. Not only to me, but to my family. So I won't be going anywhere.
So this is not the best angle, and that's okay, because I'm not in the best of moods right now. Yeah, it's been a couple days. I'm still reading In the Company of Crows and Ravens. I'm actually just listening to audiobook at this point, and occasionally like looking at some of the diagrams and illustrations. It's still interesting. I still kind of think it feels out of date because not only are they, for some reason, they use the word Eskimo, which is a derogatory term, but they used it like a couple times, but not to refer to a specific people, which still like don't. But they have been using specific like tribal names, Inuits and other various tundra northern nation names. But there's also a lot of talk of like Bering Strait theory and land bridges and all this and that, which I get to a point because it's talking about the evolution of ravens and crows and how they expanded, I guess, to a certain degree, but like to a certain extent, like that theory has been proven wrong on a couple of occasions. The Bering Strait theory, land bridge theory, anyway. So I don't know. It just feels out of date to me. This is a terrible angle. I'm sorry. I'm laying down because I felt dizzy this afternoon. I did go back to work yesterday, and like yesterday I felt fine. And in fact, yesterday was my actual birthday day, and in fact, like my boss is being like really, really kind, and like, I mean, this I say that, but thinking about it, it's like I feel like it's the bare minimum in terms of empathy to like after someone has a surgery and may not be to the standard health that whatever in the recovery essentially of just like, offering for me to go home early if I need to. I didn't take that offer so much yesterday. I left a half hour early just because it was like in general my birthday, and like we were pretty much caught up on work, and we have been. But today for some reason at like 1:30 it just kind of hit me. I got dizzy. I was feeling a little nauseous, like I couldn't focus on anything without feeling queasy in some way. But I was in the middle of a workshop because we do summer programming. And so I just kind of texted my mom, who we both work at the same university, and we carpool together. So I was just texting her to see if it was all right if we left early today. And she said it was fine, just to let her know because I have to check in with my supervisor. And like we got through the workshop. I helped clean up, and then yeah. So I'm still kind of lightheaded, and of course, like everyone's freaking out, thinking I need to go back to the hospital. I don't think it's that. I think it's just like getting back into the swing of work, but also having this summer programming. I've probably been like running around too much the last couple days. So sorry, it's just easier with my eyes closed right now. So if I don't make eye contact, I apologize. But yeah, like I said, I'm enjoying it. I mean, it's really interesting. I didn't know that the Crow people, like the Crow, the tribe, the nation that's in the United States, that's like, that when they explained the bird that they named themselves after, that the colonial settlers misinterpreted it as crow when really it should have been eagle. Holy cow. That sucks. But yeah, it's also just fascinating too, just how many words we have for like how much the crow and raven has influenced their culture and society as a whole. So it's been really interesting. I think I have like 4 hours left. I'm almost like 50% of the way through it. It's just taking me a couple days. I'm still in this mood that I was in May, where it's like I'm not quite sure which book to pick up, and it's not that I'm not interested in the books when I pick them up and start reading them. It's I'm having a hard time motivating myself to actually just pick them up, because once I'm reading them, it's interesting. So like right now, I'm actually still reading Coast Range by Nick Neely, like physically, but the only time I read it is when I'm here in bed, here in bed, um, like getting ready to sleep. I do like reading before I go to sleep, but it's like that it kind of hits me as I'm reading. Like I only get halfway through the page and like I'm tired. I am so tired. And it's not even because I'm in recovery or because I'm in had surgery or anything. Like has been happening, and that when I try to read right before bed, I just can only get through like a half a page, and I put it aside. So, and I get so frustrated after like a week or so of not finishing a book like that, and only seeing the very small progress that I'm seeing. Um, that I get discouraged and like think I need to just pick up another book. So I've grabbed like a book that I haven't even hauled yet. I don't know. I'm in this like this unknown with reading right now. So not that I'm not enjoying it. I just don't know what I want to enjoy. So yeah. Anyway, that's my update for now. Okay, so I was editing this vlog only to realize that I never actually like gave an outro or like wrapped it up really. So we did so just for clarification, we did end up were able to celebrate my birthday. It was very simple, and it was enjoyable for me. I really liked it. We went to breakfast at a local creperie. Brad let me wander around a local bookstore and we ended up going and exploring a state park that's nearby, and just kind of like having a fun little adventure. It was exactly what I wanted, exactly what I needed. And then of course we ended up having dinner with my dad and his wife and my siblings. So it was nice. I loved it. And then I did finish that blanket. I'll put pictures up here because I already gave it to my cousin and her baby, and they absolutely loved it. It was cute. The baby, she's not even a year yet. I think she's like 5 months old or something, 4 or 5 months old, and she's like finding body parts. So right now she's like obsessed with her feet, but and I'm sure it's because like my cousin put the blanket over her feet, and that she just immediately grabbed the blanket and like was feeling it and was like immediately mouth. But my cousin really enjoyed it. I was really nervous because like when I finished, it was smaller than I was expecting. It was like 65 centimeters by 70 centimeters, and that was the overall finished measurements that it was supposed to be, but mine felt and like I measured it was like a couple centimeters short. But it was also because I needed to block it, so I blocked it, which I haven't really done before because all the pieces that I've done before are huge and I just throw them in the wash. But I blocked this one, and I was so nervous because I ended up, when I was soaking it in water and starting to bring it out, it smelled like wet dog. I don't know why, but like it scared the hell out of me because I'm like, oh my god, all that work and it smells like wet dog. I put some Dawn dish soap in with the water, mixed it, and let it soak for a little bit, wringed it out, let it block. It did get bigger, it stretched out a little bit, which I was happy about. Let it dry for a while. Let it dry outside, which wasn't necessarily the best thing because it's not the sunniest here, and it was a damp day, so it kind of just smelled like, you know when you're clean and you go like sweat outside in the sun, like you can smell sweat and sun on someone. Like it's not necessarily a bad smell, like they're obviously clean, but yeah, that's what it smelled like. So I threw it in the dryer with a dryer sheet. So
that worked a little bit, and they didn't seem to notice it. I think I was just being hyper vigilant about it, just because I was nervous about, like, oh, what should it smell like, because it's for a baby and everything. So anyway, but yeah, they really enjoyed it. I did finish In the Company of Crows and Ravens. I ultimately think I gave this 3.5 stars. Ultimately, it feels out of date, just because there was a lot, and I talked to you about this before, about the Bering Strait theory, the land bridge theory, as well as, for some reason, the use of the word Eskimos. So, which for some reason they used in terms of the indigenous people in Greenland, which, what? Like, no one should be called that ultimately. So, yeah. But otherwise, it was really interesting. I did, like, just listen to it audibly, and I drifted in and out. There was some, like, ultimately it was really interesting. It was really interesting to see, like, to just kind of see how crows and ravens have affected our language, our culture, and how ultimately we've affected crows and raven culture. And how it's essentially becoming a symbiotic relationship, or has been a symbiotic relationship for a while. But I don't know, something about it, like, what I mentioned, as well as something else about it, like, just kind of seemed out of date. It was published in 2005. What I did really appreciate was at the end of various ways you can help with crow and raven research, of just being just citizen science in your local area, and like where to like how to be able to observe and when to observe, and like to take pictures, and who you can send it to, or who you can reach out to in your local area that might be researching this already, as well as various little science, like citizen science stuff that would be helpful in general, but also just like really nice to do for kids' science projects, which for me was a struggle when I remember doing science projects. Like, I never knew, because they immediately canceled out volcanoes and crystals, and so I never knew what the hell to do. I think one year I ended up doing like a clay presentation of the anatomy of a salmon, and then like another year, of course, I like had a crush on this boy that we ended up becoming like partners in the science project, and the stupid freaking science experiment was why pepper, when put in water, moved when we put soap on our finger and stuck it in the water. And it's just like, duh. It was just stupid, and we were also just like not really paying attention to it. So, but like, that's one thing that was always so frustrating to me, of just the lack of education in our science department, and like to be able to know where to look for ideas for science fair projects. I would love to be able to redo that. So I have a feeling like if Brad and I ever have kids and they have to do science projects, that's gonna be like something I'm gonna try to loop through them with. But yeah. So yeah, that was that. Yeah, so I finished 3 books. I still do have Burn. It's not due back until August, so that may be on my July TBR. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, I finished The Heart Principle, which is the 3rd book in the KISS Quotient, which I gave 4 stars. It has some good discussion. And then I don't have this with me anymore. Amazon's Abolitionists and Activists, The Fight for Women's Rights by Nikki Kendall. Nikki Kendall. I think that was it. The same author as Hood Feminism, which is, as it says, a graphic history of women's rights, which was a lot, but for a graphic, and it still seemed like it only skimmed the surface, but was really informative. And then In the Company of Crows and Ravens, how crows and ravens have affected human culture, and how humans have affected crow and raven culture. So that's 3 down. And ultimately, this is how many I've completed at this point. I am still, I think, a couple books behind, but ultimately it's not quite as daunting anymore. And like I said, I'm still super excited about this whole thing. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Sorry it's so long, but if you made it to the end, let's go ahead and put a bird emoji, because why not? I know I've done that before, but I don't think I think I asked for a blackbird, and I don't think there is a blackbird emoji on YouTube. So let's go ahead and just do any kind of bird emoji. Otherwise, like this video, subscribe if you have yet to do so, and I hope that you are in the mental mindset to enjoy your reading. I will see you in another video very soon. Chew.